technology. Let's see now. I should be able to see you. Get it over there. Now, where do I do that? All right. Well, just go and ask me questions while I figure this out.
Okay. So, let's see. Let's go. You told me a little bit about the SNCC thing.
Like
Yeah,
a Snicker bar. Like a Snicker bar. You know the Snicker bar candy?
Yeah.
The Snicker.
Let's go with, and you told me about what you were going to put on. Oh, there we go. I can see you now.
There we go.
Yay. And you said, like, you told me what you were going to talk about on Elsie's campus. So I guess the only question I have left for you, or actually I have two questions. So what was your interest in Southernist folklorist culture? Like, what was it, just your upbringing that like made you interested in that, or as well as anthropology? Like, why did you decide to focus on anthropology?
That's a good question. After I graduated with my first master's degree, I worked as an administrator. I have a master's I was a student affairs administrator for about 20 years. And I kept trying to figure out a way. Now, remember, I done fell in love with the South back in the undergrad program and the Southern Studies program. So I tried to figure out a way where I could go into the classroom. So my son at the time was a student over at Ole Miss. You know how you young people do. You go to college and you stay out, you hang out. You know how young people do it.
I don't, but yeah.
So I moved. I was in Alabama, at a university in Alabama, and I moved from Alabama, didn't have a job, and went to Mississippi to get my son because I couldn't afford to lose my child to the street. He's my only son. And one day I just I found a job. I didn't have a job, so I found a job making. Listen to me now. I'm talking 1999, somewhere along in there. I had a job working with the Memphis Mental Health Association, making $600 a month.
A month? Wow. Wow. That's crazy.
Raising my son.
That's wow.
Well, anyway, let's move on. Let's move on. You know, they say professional women ain't supposed to get emotional and stuff. They sure they don't treat women right, do they?
No.
Anyway, so I don't know what was going. I decided to go back to school. I said I was introduced to anthropology as an undergraduate student under Dr. Ferris. There was a blues anthropology from Iowa that had just come from Iowa, he and his lovely wife, Patricia Edwards Ashoff, and he was the first anthropologist. They were the first anthropologists that I had ever met, and they introduced me to folklore in anthropology. So it was because you see my personality. It was just fitting for me.
Yeah.
and so I went back to school. I tell you, Dr. Ferris was the head of the National Humanities under President Clinton, and he's my mentor. We've been friends almost 50 years. I called him up and told him I wanted to go back to school at the University of Memphis. And he called down there and told Dr. Dye, the chairman over the department, to let me in. They was going to stop their money. Anyway, he didn't tell them that. So I was the only student of color.
Wow.
And out of the 2 years of the master's program, the only Black professor I had was Dr. Charles Williams. He is the one that helped me condense my background in folklore in Southern culture into anthropology, because he taught anthropology from an Afrocentric point of view, or from the Black experience point of view, if you will. I didn't read anything in the book at University of Memphis about me and in the anthropology books. That's why the Terry Buffington Foundation is important. I asked old doctor, what's his name? I said, what about Zora Neale Hurston? He said, who was that? So I became interested in it because I know the value of my history. I know the value of the Black experience. Excuse me 1 minute. My son told me not to let the phone ring. I'm going to answer and hang up.
No problem.
Terry Buffington Productions. Hello. Hello. Yeah, let me call you back, son. I'm in an interview. Hello. Can you hear me? Hello. Hello. Can you hear me? Anyway, I hate these telephones. I got this little thing from a business and it ain't worth a devil. Anyway, back to you. And so I became, so when Dr. Williams said to me, he said, Miss Buffington, he said, if you want to teach it, he said, what you're going to do is you're going to merge these disciplines because they're both in the liberal arts. And so that's how I became an anthropology. And I started to do it. And by the way, I was a fellow at the University of Memphis. They paid me to go. And so never in my wildest imagination, child, that I think I was going to have enough. I never thought I had enough anything to collect. My son said, Mama, would you donate this stuff? That's him again. Good Lord. Terry Buffington. Hello? I must have the phone on mute or something. Hello? Hey, son, I'm in an interview. May I call you back? Hello? Can you hear me? Okay, well, let me text him. I can talk and do that. So it became, I was obsessed with it. Didn't know nothing about anthropology. In the Black community, the only thing we could ever do, see, in the Jim Crow South was be a school teacher, you know, English teacher or some stuff like that. And if you know anything about the discipline of anthropology, historically, it was a privileged white man's discipline. You saw the white man out in the field digging, and very few women. There were no women until Margaret Mead came along, and Jane Woodruff. I mean, there was no women in anthropology until the 26th. And baby, there are less than 1,500 Black anthropologists in America, and I am the only one with a historic collection of the Mississippi civil rights experience.
Wow.
Can Mama call you back? Okay, I'm in an interview. I'll call you back. All right, bye-bye. Thanks. So I mastered that. And so it's fascinating. Whoever would have thought that here's a woman from Mississippi with a historic collection. You don't know how that makes me feel. And it makes me feel even better to be able to share with the world my experience, my collection, because the collection is 99% about the West Point, Mississippi civil rights movement. West Point, Mississippi was the catalyst of the Mississippi civil rights movement.
Wow. You must be really proud to like have that collection.
I wish my mama and daddy was here.
Oh. I bet they're proud of you.
I wish my husband, I tell my children, I said, I wish our daddy could see the legacy that we have. All of his papers from all over the world, University of Wisconsin at Madison, just Google him. Duke University, and my attorney is in the process of collecting all of his stuff because I own the intellectual property to it, property rights. That's why it's so important that you everything that's written about Black people culture coming from white people. And that's why it's important for me to have a foundation so somebody can be trained, and then we'll complain about the stolen blues. Bill Ferris got the blues. Just when you get off, go to KXK something at jazz station up in, I'll send you the link, and look at Bill Ferris. It's on a tour. He's up in, he's the guru. He is the 2-time Grammy Award winner on black blues culture in Mississippi. Ain't no black folks got it because ain't nobody been trained to do it. We don't tell our black students, black kids are so poor. They go to school and get out and want to make money, help their families. This is kind of a leisure, kind of a, you don't make no money. You don't see us on white college campuses. We don't get grants to go off and do research. I did that out of my own, and with my community is how I did this collection. Not a penny.
Wow.
So you have, it's some people struggle with what they're supposed to do in the world. I've always known my role. I'm an educator. I didn't go to school, I didn't go to school to be as I am. The school just put it in perspective and gave me some theory. That's what school does.
Yeah.
Gives you theory, gives you clarity. It helps you write, it helps you, it's school process, if you will.
Mm-hmm. Well, since you were talking about blues, I guess we can end on the, do you need a minute?
I'm good.
Okay. I guess we can end on the Black Prairie Blues Project. Like, can you explain what this project is? How did it come about? Like,
okay, well, I got a call from Bill Ferris. Me and him are thick. He grew up in the Mississippi. Now he came from a wealthy background from Natchez, Mississippi. Well, he's 82 now, and I'm 75. For a white man to be in his work, I always tell him it is his form of protest for him to come to Mississippi at 15 years old. He's a filmmaker to document this history and then to go on and win 2 Grammys. I mean, he's world renowned. And I think that Bill Ferris sent me an email and introduced me to somebody else from my hometown, and that kicked off the blues thing. Now, let me tell you, you know anything about Howlin' Wolf?
no.
Okay, anyway, he was from West Point, Mississippi, where I'm from, born and raised. And he was one of the guys in the 40s with Muddy Waters, John Lee Hooker, Big Mama Thornton. And he was one of those people that revolutionized country blues, as it's referred to. B.B. King played a whole different kind of blues. And so somehow these people in West Point, white people again, got control of his family, and they opened up the Howlin' Wolf Blues Museum. And the people that opened it up, when I was a child, they had a store, and we couldn't even go into the store. I'm trying to tell you how white people capitalize off my culture.
Yeah.
And so somehow the Mr. Chesterfield is his name. The family sued these white people, and so they had to drop the Howlin' Wolf Blues, and then they named it the Black Prairie. Now, the Black Prairie is where I'm from. That would be Aberdeen and Columbus, Mississippi. It was so rich by the 1800s, girl. It was the capital king of the world. And the planters that didn't live there, they lived in New York and in Paris. And so it was conducive to land. So somehow this same group of people went back and named it the Black Prairie. To me, that's a representation of slavery, of the old antebellum South. And if you go online and look at their website, you ain't gonna see a person of color, because Black people don't value that music. But the younger kids, like these rapping kids, they've sampled some of everybody. Some of these younger people and some of these younger musicians is beginning to pick it up again. It's just a unique American art form. And so the blues fest. So we were gonna Bill Ferris' idea was to help them digitize their organization, and where we was gonna take the blues program into the school. to help build a curriculum. But they were all white people. The school board is black. And so I started to ask these questions. There was somebody from Mississippi State down where Leach